Being a single mom and doing it all by yourself is brutal. Learn the brain and energy tools to get back to your center and overcome your challenges. Good evening. Why is it important to have a sex life? And how can you make your sex life more satisfying even if you're single? That's what we're going to talk about tonight with my guest, Renee Realta, who is trying to join as I speak. This is Muriel Felous. I am a life coach and I help single women get out of the craziness and get back to their center and the emotional state that is the required one to really have access into their inner resources and overcome their challenges. Meanwhile, I'm not overcoming my challenge because our guest is not here. Her name is Renee Realta. And Renee is an expert. She explains that some of the top 10 reasons why relationships fail and intimacy dies is because of a lack of communication, falling into a rut, differences in expectations regarding the relationship, and money issues. So Renee's expertise is providing women with a fun, safe, and comfortable way to learn about overcoming or avoiding those issues with her tips and tricks surrounding a very taboo subject, sex, sexual wellness, and more. Welcome to our show. Before we go into the meat of the subject, this subject that is a fun one, but a taboo one, like I was saying, I would love to know, how did you end up talking about sex? What was your journey?
It was a strange one, really, because I grew up in a very conservative household that didn't really talk about that. You know, we had the class in middle school, and that was about it. And then fast forward really to about a year after I met my now husband, I was invited by, and I think these circumstances are very interesting. I was invited by a friend of mine who went to the same school, very conservative school that I went to growing up, to a show. And it was ladies only. And I thought, okay, you know, I'm a little like nervous about how this is going to go or what happens here, but I'll go. I mean, I was all about having some fun. So I'll check it out, you know. And so I went, and it was very classy. It was still a lot of fun. We laughed. We learned a lot. And that was kind of it, you know. Somebody offered me the opportunity to do this back then, and I said, no way, it's not for me. And then to keep a longer story short, you know, fast forward, I found myself, you know, in a rut. Myself and my husband had always discussed that we wanted to keep that fresh and fun all the time. And I had our now 5-year-old 3 years ago. I was still in a rut, like, he was 2, and I was still just like, oh, I need to get my sexy back, you know? And this is what came to mind. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. There's this thing that I can do, and, you know, maybe I should check it out. And it really helped not only with that sexual piece and that intimacy piece, but also the money. So that's it.
That's the story, and you stand on it.
Yeah.
So I know you have your own show, and one of the first questions that come to my mind is about the reaction of the audience, because I know that your show is very popular. You have a lot of viewers, and I was wondering if people are, because I know in France, sex is a taboo subject, but
I didn't realize that. I thought
it depends. It depends who you talk to and how you talk about it.
Yeah.
But if people, once they see that they can trust, there is no problem anymore. I mean, between what people do and what people say, there is a difference.
Yeah.
But how is it here in America? Do people talk freely about it? Or is it more, are they more reserved, or does it depend?
I think it also kind of depends on the audience. And I think kind of a general statement that people might find to be true is that a lot of people are very quiet about it and very personal, and that's fine. It's a personal topic, but
Yeah.
once they find, in my experience, especially with this show and it being like public, is that I take the very classy approach. It's fun, but it's, I'm not raunchy about it. And once they realize that, I feel like bringing it that way normalizes it for people and allows them and gives them the permission to have a chat about it and talk about it. Everybody's doing it, so why should we be ashamed or feel like it's something we can't talk about? Because the more that communication gets better, the better everybody's lives can be. So yeah, I've noticed that. I think the approach that I take is unique and in some respects, and we all come with our own audience. So
Yes.
my audience tends to be very probably conservative on the surface, but I'm like the first one, my mind's in the gutter. When somebody says something, if I can turn it into a joke, it's there. So I think once they realize that, we can talk about this without having to be raunchy or anything, and you can learn a lot, then they're like, this is awesome.
And that's true. I've watched your show and you're very classy about it. The way you present it, you have a ton of knowledge, of information about a lot of stuff. So that's why I guess people have received it like really well.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I always tell my clients as a coach, because I coach single women, and of course, sex is a need the same way that eating is a need. And I find out that when people are not practicing, and I'm putting that in quotation mark, because there are so many ways to have sex.
Right.
I find that if they don't meet that need at a certain point because of the hormones, they get somehow agitated and desperate, and they just jump on everything that resemble what they need. And that's when they're vulnerable to narcissistic people, to the players, to the guys that are here just for sex.
Yeah.
So I always recommend.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I always recommend, and not only do they choose them, but because of the bonding hormone that is triggered in the body once you have sex as a woman, they get attached, and that's it. They're hooked in a toxic relationship. I'm talking from experience here because I used to be the queen of that. So I advocate for the sacred way of taking care of your needs, and I would like your input on that as far as, first of all, why is it so important for our body to be active in a sexual way?
I think as females, I've done some, a lot of reading and a lot of, I'm very into energy and things like that too. And so I've found that it seems like there's a connection, and I can at least say this from my personal experience, and I've read of others, who, when you really embrace your female sensuality and sexuality, you regain your power. You do. It's not really another way of saying it, but you are fulfilling yourself in that way, if that makes sense, before having to feel like you have to rely on another partner, whether that's male or whoever, however your partnership identifies. But you have control. I always tell women they need to own their orgasms. I mean, quite frankly. And so, interestingly enough, to tie it back into the hormones and why it affects us so much, I think. And then, like you said, that's a really great point about the bonding hormone kicking in there, because the problem with, as you've probably identified already, with going to a if you will, allow the human partner to come in, right? Versus something like where I teach at my parties, there are accessories that you can use and you can introduce to the bedroom, whether you're single or partnered. And where those come in, it's interesting you mentioned that, is because back around 1880, believe it or not, that was when the first vibrator was introduced. And reason being, this comes back to the medical, because at that time, hysteria was considered a diagnosable disorder. Yeah. And so women were literally lining up there's some doctors who would give manual orgasms with their hands.
Yeah.
And because they couldn't continue to do that for 8 hours straight, like their hands, there's a movie called Hysteria.
Then you
And
have tendinitis.
yeah, like, and so this, came about, and here we
Yeah.
are now. But like, I think that's what kind of a great, important piece of that is. It's not that it's replacing somebody, but it's allowing you to, take care of your own needs in a
Yeah.
way that doesn't require necessarily the bonding, but it
Yeah.
gives you the good feelings. It gives you the serotonin, the endorphins that come with having an orgasm, and that is, kind of priceless when you're not wanting to fall into something that could be not what you want yet as far as a relationship goes.
And we're going to go into the part that is about the orgasm a little bit later, because I think that is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But just in surface, it gives you a certain glow, I noticed.
Yeah.
When women are completely shut down on that level, they're like, in my head, I would identify that with a gray energy, because I work with energies too.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow an energy is locked in the body, and it needs to flow like any other energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I know that you you train, or you talk about being with a partner and introducing a toy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But do you have also women who come and they're single and they just want it for themselves?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I only kind of my message first and foremost, kind of just because that's my experience, goes to, with a partner, but because that was where I found myself when I started this 3 years ago. But certainly, absolutely, and it doesn't mean that partners don't play, alone by themselves. When maybe a partner's traveling or something, or whatever. But absolutely, and that's one of the most important pieces, I think, like you said, is because you're right. There's that bonding hormone that comes in where, if you're having sex with people, it's kind of the only way to say it, right? That can happen a lot easier. And I, totally agree that I think that women are wired more so to experience that conflict internally, where that bonding comes in, and maybe they're not really ready for it, but that's part of your hormones, and so that's how you start feeling.
Yeah, I've read somewhere that it was actually nature put that in place to make you bond with your baby, because otherwise you would kill that baby who cries all the time.
Yeah.
So that was one of the solutions.
Right.
And as far as accessories, when we talk about bonding, the way I came around that issue of not having another human being with you is somehow naturally, like sex is a lot in your head, right? That's where it starts, and you can amplify it, multiply it, and make it something different.
Yeah.
So there is the thought, and there is an energy aspect as well, because that's why I don't recommend sleeping with people that you don't at least know a little bit. Because you need to know that they don't have a dark vibe, because you, especially as a woman, you are. Do you want a drink of water, or?
I think I'm good. I'll let you know though if I do. Yeah.
Okay. You're the receptacle. So if it's really a dark energy, it's not good.
Yeah.
But the way you can do that I found, and tell me if you've seen that in women, is that instead of bonding with another human being, you can bond with yourself and make it somehow a sacred ceremony.
Absolutely. 110%. Yep.
No, I'm the one coughing. I'm sorry.
I didn't pass it, I promise. No, absolutely. 110%. And that's where I would say that finding your female power comes into play with it, because, you're really connecting with yourself. And it's very important, even before you find a partner, to explore yourself anyway, because that is how you know what to communicate to your partner is able to, what pleasures you. And so that I find,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
That's a huge piece. Do you end up teaching women how to discover themselves? Because most women that I see, they're not really connected to themselves, not really connected to their body, and they never actually explored what they like. And it starts with the skin, it starts with feeling comfortable putting your hand on yourself
Mm-hmm.
and just feeling. Do
Yeah.
you encounter that too?
Oh yeah. I have a it's not up here right now. I have a pillow.
Yes.
It's the shape of a heart, and it's oh, I think you saw it. Virginia, the vulva. She's a vulva
Yeah.
pillow, and I bring her to my shows because I show women, like, if you've never, this is kind of the nitty gritty, but if you've never sat in front of a mirror, you need to do
Yeah.
it. You need to, take a time. That's not the sensual part, but yes, because I've found so many conversations. I've had conversations with over 1,000 women in my shopping room portion of my shows, and that's
Yeah.
private and confidential. And they've said, I don't know how to tell my partner this, or I don't know how to tell them this, and then that's where the communication starts to fall, and then it's just kind of breaks down from there. So if I do find that the women who have played by themselves before seem to have better experiences overall in the bedroom later if they're with a partner later, or now, like, if they're still single.
Yeah, because it's also about feeling comfortable with yourself and your body and accepting yourself. It's so complex in some way. I know you're talking about accessories, but there is the piece, the human being piece, that is way bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
So,
with with partners, and talking about with partners, a lot of women, I don't think, well, I mean, it's just not common knowledge that arousal and desire are two different things. I mean, I learned that. I learned so much just teaching, but
yeah,
arousal, a lot of times in females, and this is kind of speaking traditional. I'm trying to be more inclusive lately because we have such a
yes,
large, variety of, I think, identities and sensualities and
yeah,
sexualities. But traditionally, females tend to find themselves needing to be aroused before they feel that desire. And so I think, kind of talking about this just got me thinking. I think that that's part of the piece why women wouldn't tend to just, by instinct, just get in the bed with themselves or their accessory and explore, because nothing is arousing them externally. Does that make sense? You have to find that first, and maybe that's why they find that they're kind of gravitating toward all these partners, because that's something externally that's arousing them, whereas men traditionally are the ones who, it's just the desires there first, and then the arousal is physical. So
and so would it be? I don't know. Maybe it's not, but the image that just came to me, or the thought, is like having a cake in front of you, but if you've never tasted the cake, you don't know how it tastes.
right.
So you won't even want it. As if you were doing it like more regularly, then you crave it. Is that the same way?
It is very much the same way. And that is with, yourself or with a partner, is very true.
Yeah.
And I think, that's part of why it's kind of like, not fake it. We don't want anybody faking orgasms.
No.
But
No.
what should I say? Like, just
train it.
Just do it. Just, if it's you or your partner, just, commit that time, commit yourself 5 or 10 minutes just to start, because once you start, it's a lot easier to continue. And that's when I think with women, they find that arousal piece, and then, okay, there's the desire comes following. And it's true. You're 110% again hit on it, that once that becomes more regular again, then they don't find themselves needing to feel like almost like they're forcing themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I had a question and it left me. Oh, okay. That's okay. For the ladies in my audience who are still shy, they've never tried, it's somehow they learned that it was really a big taboo, let's say in their family, for example.
Mhm.
what would you tell them to start with? Would they, should they look at themselves, or where should they start to become more at ease with the idea?
I think so. My take on it is that something as simple as a bullet might be a good thing. And I only say an accessory because it's not that you shouldn't explore manually with your hands, but in a way, I think that if you've been taught that, I know this is, let me know if this makes sense. If you've been taught that touching yourself is bad, or, it's not okay,
Yeah.
using something else to touch yourself
Oh, okay.
could kind of be a bridge to that,
Because
and
you
then
don't
you
have
feel
the,
that sensation and you're like, okay, like I can understand where this is, it's does that make any sense? I mean, and it's whatever the person's comfortable with, really.
yeah,
If they
it
wanted
actually
to,
makes sense,
yeah.
because then your association is with doing it yourself,
Mm-hmm. And
and
you are,
then you're not doing it yourself somehow. It's like
and
a
you are,
gateway.
and you are to yourself, but it's
Yeah.
something else that's helping. And also, 80% of women need some kind of clitoral stimulation to achieve an orgasm.
Yeah.
So that would be why I would recommend just a bullet to start, because it can become your favorite one, but it's one of the most go-tos, I think.
Yeah, and for people who are not familiar, because I'm not sure I know what a bullet is, but it's just, it's not, they can Google it.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know if
Yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
explain it here.
Yeah.
Wh- do- what what I would also ask is, do you find that working with being comfortable with pleasure at all level? Because when I test, I I have a class where I teach sensuality.
Mm-hmm.
And because in my culture it's very, very, very present.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, why not? Let's give what I know, and maybe it can help some people. And I find that in France, for example, way before you talk about sex, you have all this mystère, these hidden, somehow not forbidden, but you're on the line.
Yeah.
And the idea of pleasure starts in your day-to-day life with food, with color, with all the sensory pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that it plays a role too in your classes to familiarize yourself with pleasure?
I've learned to make sure that I'm including, because we tend to have we do have a catalog, so we kind of tend to go in the flow of the catalog, but also insert all that sexual wellness stuff with it. But I've found it to be very, very good to include kind of that too, and the fact that, if you don't have a partner, it starts with dressing in a way that you feel sensual. Like you said, just maybe being aware of your movements, and whatever, like you were saying, you have some great tips on that end, I think, about that during the day-to-day life. And then that also helps build your confidence, which is huge.
Yes.
Because that's what I talk a lot about at my shows. Is I ask the girls, what do you think if your confidence was a 10 of 10? Would it make a difference in your life and in the bedroom? Oh yeah, I think it would. And so when they start kind of thinking about it like that, they realize they can really own that, and then that will translate into the bedroom too.
Yeah, and by the way, it has nothing to do with how much we weigh.
Right.
What do we?
No.
It's completely from the inside out. So it's amazing. It's fabulous. Actually, I love that fact.
And I'll tell you, it's really crazy how much we get in our heads, I think, as women. How much our body, with the way it looks, particularly with weight and stuff, we need to stop worrying about it. We need to stop worrying about it.
And you know what's funny?
Huh?
I asked men, And my daughter, she's in college, and she's 21, and she talks with boys. And one of them, I don't know, they were talking about cellulite, and one of them didn't even know what it was. So we're here worrying about stuff. And he was like, "What is it?" So she explained to him, and he looked at her and he said, "Oh, and that's a bad thing." So
Yeah.
I was laughing like crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I mean, and
all-
that's the thing is that I think you know, like, so one of the products we offer is a firming cream, and I tell the ladies, look, any of this, let's talk this confidence piece for a second. This is for you, you know. Don't worry about it. But if there's something you want to improve, go for it. You know,
yeah,
get it, go for it. But know that that shouldn't be the end all be all, and that you can't live a pleasured life before that destination of, you know, ideal whatever
yeah.
body images, like, because you hit it on the head. Like, they're not thinking about it like we are by any
It's so
means.
true.
By any means, I can tell you that now.
I found it hilarious because we are worrying and worrying, and they don't even see it. They don't even.
Yeah. And when a woman really feels that inner power and connects with that
Yeah.
inner sensuality, like we were talking about earlier, she's not going to care anymore.
No.
No. When she really, you will know if you've hit it when you don't, when you care about feeling good and looking good and, you know, for
Yes.
yourself. But
Yes.
a woman will know, I am convinced now that a woman will know when she really hit that, when she really found that inner power, because she won't let it stop her from living life in the meantime of getting to where she wants to be.
True. Yes. And we are both brain trainers. That means we work a lot on mindset. And I
Yeah.
know for that, mindset is the key, because
Yeah.
I have an affirmation that says, my beauty is radiating from inside out, and the world is reflecting it to me. And I promise you, when I practice or when I give that to my students or clients, they come back and they say, "Oh, men are looking at me in the street." I said, "Yeah, because that's how you feel."
Right. Yeah.
Magical. I love it.
Yeah, it's so true. I need to really add a piece kind of like that to my show, because I think, and I haven't had one since I started. Well, I've had maybe one since I started the live show, but yeah, and I talked about mindset the last time on that. It's a huge piece, because you know, you can really take your destiny in your own hands when you decide that you want to feel a certain way. So
absolutely.
yeah.
So when you go and you present your products, first of all, let's say here, what products do you work with?
I have, so in order to appeal to the larger audience and to also help women who are a little more mild, you know, feel comfortable, we have a bath and beauty line. We have a great bath and beauty line. We have massage products. We have some essential oil rollerball blends. We have some pure essential oils that can be diluted into a fractionated coconut oil, carrier oil for massage. So that's really nice now too. And then we move into our lingerie, and we have lubricants and enhancement creams, and then the bedroom accessories. So there's really a really wide range of, you know, stuff that they get to see.
Yeah. And sometimes you can have someone, let's say if they're not ready for the full accessory, they can start with all that things around it until they feel comfortable enough.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you wanted to recommend something to the women here who are maybe still shy, like you were saying, one of your products, and maybe explain a little bit about it, and that's where they would start. And if they want something more towards the accessories, they can really contact you or watch your show.
Yeah.
Where would you recommend as a product to start?
I would say to start with the foreplay category. So that would be like the massage, you know, checking out the lingerie. If you're kind of if you're watching this and you're just very hesitant about it, but you're curious, just even with a bath, like a bubble bath or something like that, that's going to just help, something that's going to help you feel good about yourself, feel sexy. We have an incredible shave cream that helps you get a really clean, close, sexy shave on your legs. So, you know, when you feel prepared and you feel sexy before you get to the bedroom and you feel that way all day, you're going to be more inclined to feel in the mood later. You know, so you can transition from anywhere from the bath to one of my favorite massage products is actually some gloves that you put on and you can still feel the fingertips like pop out of the ends. And they can be used for sensual massage or just non-sexual massage also.
Yes.
That can translate into, you know, more if you're with a partner, that would be more of a partner product. But you know, like I said earlier, if you're curious about the accessories, just a bullet is good, and we have one that's got kind of a longer handle, which is nice, and you know, it might be able to feel like it's not, you know, it's an accessory to getting there yourself, you know, and it's not like you doing it.
Yes, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
And for the ladies, my ladies are single, and when you want to attract a partner, it's really important to come up with a full cup, like a cup that is already full.
Yes.
And especially with energy, because if you are in desperation, what you're going to align with is more desperation and more lack. So taking a bath with bubbles, like you were saying, or lighting a candle, or starting to just touch your skin and maybe put some cream will be the start, if you put the intention behind it on top of it all, of I'm loving myself and I'm worthy of pleasure and I'm worthy of taking care of myself, then the energy vibration is going to be completely different. So that's amazing that you are recommending this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a must.
Yes.
If people want to contact you or get in touch with you, where should they go? And I'll put it in the description also.
Oh, okay, cool. They can go right to, you can connect with me right here on Facebook. I think that's the easiest. Renee Realta, and we'll just, you said you could put it in there. So yeah, I could send you a link, just to my profile, and they can either follow or send me a friend request. And feel free, if you're watching this, go ahead and just message me and I can see those messages. So I can answer any questions that you have. If you're on Instagram, go ahead and, it's just my name again, Renee Realta.
This show is also audio because it goes on iTunes and it goes on Google Play. So if you're listening to us on audio and you're not on Facebook, is there a way to contact you if it's not on Facebook?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a pretty easy email address. If they'd like to email me, that'd probably be the best way. It's PUREBYRENEE, Pure by Renee, @gmail.com.
Perfect.
Or let's see. I'm trying to think of a text, because I have a system you can text if you would like. If you want to send the word show to 219-979-6551, I'll know that you tuned into the show and you can text me any question that you have.
And until you contact Renee, if you are starting your quest to pleasure and your quest to change your vibe in order to either bring your relationship higher or attract the right person, tonight you can already send yourself some love, even if you don't have the products yet. Put your hand on your body and send some love and repeat, I deserve the best and I deserve pleasure. That will already be a start. And I really hope that you start taking care of your sexual needs. Because as I said, if you don't take care of it, it's going to run you behind the scene and you're not going to like what you're going to create in your life.
Yeah.
Renee, I really want to thank you for being here tonight. I know you didn't feel super duper good today, so I'm really grateful that you showed up anyway to just give information and a way for the audience to really start connecting with you and do stuff for themselves, taking care of themselves.
Thank you, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I had a great time doing it. Absolutely.
Me too. Thank you so much. For our audience, we'll be live next week, or you can listen to us on replay. with another episode. I can't tell you what it's going to be yet because I don't know. But if you have topics that you would like us to approach, anything, if you're struggling with something as a single mom and you don't know where to go and what to do, just send us a message, either PM me on Facebook or send me a message at contact@datelikeafrenchwoman.com. And yes, I didn't change my email yet, but it will come. Meanwhile, go and love yourself and go and pleasure yourself in every way you want, in every way possible. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Marielle.
Thank you, Renee.